Hey everybody, it's Wisp, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the Fire Emblem Three Hopes demo. This is actually not my first time filming this video. Some weird stuff happened, the audio got corrupted. So now here I am putting out my thoughts like 5 days before the game comes out, but that's great because that's marketing. My chair's a lot squeakier than it used to be. I think I need to fix that. So, like I said, second try at this video. But my thoughts really haven't changed. I've actually played longer now and only started to appreciate the game even more. But anyway, going back, my video that I made talking about why I think Shez will be different than Byleth and how Shez being part of this story will change everything going forward, a lot of that has been answered already. So once I get into more story-based videos, I'm really excited to highlight that. For now, it's just worth noting that yes, Shez's existence and personality both factor into why things are so different now. For other things in the story, I think one thing this game does really well is that with Three Houses, it feels like the world state is different based on what you pick. Like, if you choose to side with Edelgard, somehow she's losing the war, but in the other routes, she's winning. So there's no, like, logical reason for that. There's some other minor differences, like where's Rhea being held captive and those sorts of things in Three Houses. Whereas for Three Hopes, the time split happens earlier on, so we already kind of know what causes a lot of the changes in this world. And things make a lot more sense. Mainly because the difference is who does Shez work for. In all three routes, the major events happen. There's not one solid thing that causes the time skip. Basically, Dimitri does some things that he hates but feels he has to do to become the king of the kingdom, and he's working through and processing that while also trying to be the best king he possibly can. And in this route, he's not losing his mind. He's keeping composure and even staying neutral in the war until someone literally starts taxing his citizens or threatening to tax his citizens and killing refugees. And then after the refugees get killed, that's when Dimitri declares war on the Empire. For the Empire, Edelgard's insurrection happens a lot earlier, with those who slither in the dark being outed in a much more easy way. And Hubert also has a different role in this game, where now he's actually upset that Edelgard's going off the beaten path and going against the plan because he was part of that plan. He feels, it seems to me like he feels a little betrayed by her. And Edelgard's been making these allies and then not using them when she's not ready for them. That's because her allies are people like those who slither in the dark, and they're not of the greatest character anyway, so I'm not shaming her for getting rid of those people. But in Hubert's defense, and this is also just the way I perceive it, there's only one support so far for every character. He seems hurt that she's going out of the plans, and I could see him being a little hurt because he knows what she does with her allies when they're not needed. So this is a new side to Hubert, and he's kind of sophisticated. I actually really like this version of Hubert. Claude's time skip stuff makes a lot of sense as well, because unlike in Three Houses where things happen more slowly, this is actually the only time that both the Empire and Kingdom were caught up in their own affairs and their own politics, leaving the alliance open for attacks from Elmira, where they don't need to worry about the Kingdom or the Empire getting mad about an invasion. So now all three people are tied up in different events. Of course, everyone gets involved when some Empire soldiers start attacking at the borders to the alliance, and Edelgard says that the Church and the Kingdom and the Alliance were all grounds of the Empire at one point in time, so she's not happy with the idea of them staying as their own nations, and I don't know if that's true or if that's a perception she's putting on right now or what's going on. But either way, the time skip happens for a much different reason, and every single path is involved in their own version of it, in their own stuff during it. So it doesn't feel like the world states are different. It currently feels like they did a better job at making every route the same timeline, if only Shez was with them. Three Houses has things out of Byleth's control changing. So far this game, the only real difference with which house you pick is who Shez is associated with. And as we get later on, some things will change, because maybe if Shez is working for Edelgard, then Shez will kill Sadith and he's not in the rest of the game. But if Shez is working for Dimitri, then Shez befriends Sadith, so he's on the army, and then the Church has a completely different role for the next 5 chapters. Like, things are going to branch off in insane ways, but the only real difference is Shez so far, and I think that'll be consistent. This is all going to be what would have happened had Shez only been with us. Now, the other thing that the demo has sold me on, aside from just the route split being well done, is Shez as a protagonist. I mean, yes, Fire Emblem always got accused of the protagonists not having much personality, and it sometimes is the case. I think there are some great examples of Fire Emblem leads, and then there are some pretty poor ones who have no real personality. But Shez, despite being an Avatar, for the first time in literally, it's our 5th Avatar protagonist and 3rd Avatar main character in a row. And Shez is the first time that I feel like the Avatar has real personality. The biggest thing probably that the demo was made for is to show us the gameplay, and they nailed it. I mean, I was a fan of Fire Emblem Warriors, so going in I knew what I was getting into. But one of my biggest problems with it was that the mounted units felt really clunky and weird to control, because it kind of felt like they didn't know if I was controlling the steed or the character, and that feels a lot more smooth now. Yes, honestly, you're still kind of controlling the movement of the steed and the attack of the character, but it's done in a way that it feels much more connected and intuitive. And beyond that, there are extra elements, like actually literal elements. Ingrid being ice attuned makes her role as a Pegasus Knight a lot more fun, because as she's jumping around, flying, and swirling around enemies, she can also freeze hordes and use that for gathering enemies. There are a lot of just kind of combos, not the literal strong attack, fast attack combos that the game's already programmed in, but these sort of new combos that you can intuitively make up and find on your own that aren't just the X and Y combos. And for people who aren't into that sort of thing, it's not like it really is necessary, but if you're going to play on maddening mode maybe, or if you're just trying to kind of change the pace of the game somewhat, then that is a great option, I think, to have. Aside from the combat, the way the game uses classes is great. Characters in their preferred classes will have at least a unique string or some unique way to use that class, but there's still a general moveset for every class, which, I mean, was necessary to get as many characters as they want. Every student being playable and then some is ambitious. And yes, there's clones in the sense that each class has its own recurring movesets, but you can change your skills, your combat arts, and what you equip to your weapons to make each character feel and play differently if you want to use the same class even. I'm personally having a lot of fun with the brawler type characters. I wish we had more people who actually had preferred gauntlet weapons, because Raphael is one of my favorite characters to play, which is great because it's not like he's a bad character, but I didn't really mesh with his character very well, so I have a much more strong and a much newer appreciation for him now. And then we've got the mages, and mages in these games have never been the most fun to me. But each mage is so different that I can't fully say that. Like, Annette is more so your common, she's fire and wind, but other than that doesn't have, like, that much of a gimmick. And I'm not enjoying playing as her too much. She's also really flimsy, and she dies to just a couple of hits. But then you get Hubert, who has the spikes, and he's piercing people with those spikes that he can then detonate and blow up for massive amounts of damage. Or Mercedes, who does some light damage. One of her skills is the more she's fighting, she charges up like this light beam, and she can use that once in a while for a really strong and massive light magic attack. It's a really cool way to make those two characters feel kind of opposite, with Hubert doing dark damage that accumulates over time and Mercedes doing a big burst of light damage. But they're both just very interesting characters, I think. So far, I still need to find some way to love the sniper classes. That's something that is not my favorite right now, and there are some great characters who fall into those roles, so I definitely want to learn to appreciate them more. I'm actually having a lot of fun in the camp as well. It is just you return to camp just like you would return to Garreg Mach, I think, and the camp's just in a central location. But it feels different than returning to the monastery in every route. Like, at least it makes sense to be in every route now. So I want them to go one step further, make the camp a traveling camp. It doesn't need to be so intricately set up. You can just be like, okay, we only camp places that we can make a good bonfire for food. We only camp places with lakes nearby for fishing. Like, you can do everything and just say it's a traveling camp and move your little spot on the map. Like, that's the one thing that I think we need to make in our next step. But other than that, I really think we're doing great, and I'm really excited with what's happening. But when I am there, the way the chores work is a lot of fun. The training is great, and it's a cool way to get both class EXP and bond EXP, and I'm really looking forward to expanding that and seeing how many people maximum I can put training at one time, because eventually we're going to have a lot of people going on. And I think that this training mechanic is a good way to make up for the fact that we're not doing lessons. It's like we get the training points to do training, and then we get the hangout points to do what Byleth normally does. I think this was a really great workaround for that. Just give us the 2 points separately. I like walking around the map, and if Shez has supports with someone, you can find that person and then view the support right there on the map instead of going into the menu, which, minor detail, but it's cool. It makes it feel like you're actually going up and talking to this person. I already see how if I'm going to play this game more than once, it's going to be tiring to go around the map, and I'm going to end up just kind of trying to fast forward everything to just get to the battles. When I'm doing my challenge runs for Fire Emblem 3 Houses, that became a thing. And since this game I'm going to play at least 3 times, and if there's a secret route, probably 4, I might end up doing that as well. But for a first playthrough thing, it's at least pretty cool. Yeah, so those are things that I'm a fan of. The storyline, I'm so far picking Azure Gleam. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of new debates between Edelgard and Dimitri, or Edelgard and Edelgard. I've seen some Edelgard fans infighting lately. But I think we don't have enough of an opinion. We're not fully informed on everything yet. And I mean, we can judge what we see, obviously, and like, based on how things look, yes, there are some serious problems to be had. But having said that, the characters change so quickly, and we're seeing a Dimitri who's not losing his mind, so we very well could be seeing that Edelgard's attacks to the refugees and to the Alliance maybe aren't even her, but are those who slither. It's not what we're presented with right now, that's not what we're led to believe, but it's a possibility. I'm just saying it's best to keep an open mind. I'm definitely going Azure Gleam first, and Team Dimitri all the way, but I'm not ready to say that Edelgard is so bad that she's willing to kill refugees completely yet. That doesn't seem like the Edelgard I'm familiar with, unless things got crazier in these last 2 years than I realized so far. Once the game's out, I'm going to be late to do long-form analysis videos on the stories. I'm actually going on vacation, so I won't be able to play the game for the first week or 2 that it's actually available. But once I start, I'm definitely going to be having a lot of fun with it, analyzing every detail that I can find. If I had to give one problem right now, then I will admit that the lack of a history mode or adventure mode is really hurting. Like, I'm going to go through the whole storyline, accumulating these allies, points, supports, whatever it is that I'm grabbing. And then once I beat the game, like, you can restart and maybe transfer your save file to the point where you have the same level or whatever. Same supports, because support grinding for every playthrough would be a pain. Some sort of adventure or history mode where we have non-canon, like moments that aren't canon even to this storyline, where it's like, okay, so for this game, or for this mission, you need a team consisting of this, like very specific missions like that, where it'll be like, do Edelgard, Dimitri, Claude, and Shez, like those sorts of teams that you can't run in normal gameplay. Or Edelgard, Dimitri, Claude, and Yuri. Give Yuri some time to shine as the Abyss Lord. Point is, we're not going to be able to get those sorts of missions, and just those free maps that, because in 3 Helps, once we beat a story map, you move on, you're done. Having an adventure mode or a history mode that we could go to in a separate menu could make it so that we have these maps that we can just farm any map we want from several different, like who knows how many different missions, and we can make any team we want for it, regardless of what works in canon, what looks good, or what is a good gameplay team. I really want a mode like that, and I am really bummed out that it doesn't seem like we'll have that. We did an Age of Calamity, and as soon as I saw the map, and as soon as they said that this was based on one game, I kind of knew that there wasn't going to be one. But I think it would be a great mode for them to bring back, so even if it's DLC, I hope they bring us something like that. I think it's fair to say that those are my thoughts. I mean, the positive and the negative, and there's not much negative yet. Storylines for Warriors games are always a little bit rough and quickly told. So like Shez being such a close friend to the Lords after such a small amount of time is a fair complaint. But it makes sense since Shez does get something from each of the Lords. I mean, she can pick Edelgard because Edelgard promises a job right after the academy anyway. You can pick Claude because Claude sympathizes with Shez's struggle with the way the church is acting kind of shady. And Claude is an outsider himself, so Shez kind of fits right into that group. And then from Dimitri, there's the fact that Dimitri's helping Shez learn to read maps. And I think that even though Shez will probably never really know how to read a map, that is a place to start a friendship. So even that is one of the other and few complaints I could see coming from this game. If you like the beat 'em up style, or you're curious about the Warriors style of gameplay, or Mosu style, I think it is called, of gameplay, then this is definitely a game for you. This is a really well done look at it. It is missing extra modes, but that's probably the only thing that I would personally say is missing from this game, as opposed to some flavor elements, some like, do you prefer this or this? Like, it's got some of those where you might have some other preferences. The only thing that's really just like missing, like needs to be there, should have been there, is probably the side missions, or extra modes rather. There are side missions, but extra modes with unlimited use of side missions and creative event battles. All in all, I'm really looking forward to purchasing this game and playing it as soon as possible. And I know this game's going to be flying off the shelves on Friday when it comes out, so best of luck to anyone who's trying this game out soon. Try out the demo. I really hope you end up loving it. And to the people that end up with the game, have a blast. It's going to be an amazing ride. Thank you, and until next time.